ask you in that book I was reading, it talked about, and first of all, how complicated it is to learn music, because this guy was this.
Oh, this is Guitar Zero. How
yeah,
far?
yeah.
You gotten pretty far now, or?
I've read about a quarter of it.
Okay.
And he just talks about the incredible complications and what your brain has to do, and your body and everything else, to be able to learn. To learn to play guitar.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that little beauty.
Well, go ahead. Tell me.
Anyway,
finish the story about the book. Then we'll get to this.
Oh yeah. So anyway, so what he was talking about, one of the things is learning intervals. He said one of the things, and he said he showed a thing, and I don't know. I just guess I never paid attention, but he showed a song. I can't remember the song, but it started with a G, and then it went to a B, a G, and a B.
And these are just individual notes, like he's playing a melody, something you can sing.
And it was strictly a melody.
Not talking about chords.
No, it's strictly a melody, and
Yeah.
it went from a G to a B, and maybe this is true also. But he says no, because it's intervals. So he said that if you started with a G and did those intervals, and then you went and started with an A and did the same intervals, you get the same song.
Mm-hmm.
The same melody.
Yeah, because the distance between the notes is the same. That would just be called transposing. You've just shifted everything equally.
Which I guess it makes sense, because when you put a...
That's what a capo does.
A capo, yeah. So for whatever reason, my fat head never thought of it. So then I got thinking, well, I whistle a lot, and we've talked about that.
I heard you whistling when you walked in, and I was sitting in here whistling a Donovan tune at the same time.
So, and they come out of my head like, I'm thinking, well, if I know the intervals in a whistle, could I not then play what I can whistle?
Sure.
And I thought, well, no, I'm only whistling what I know, what the words I know, but it's not. It's the melody.
Oh, right.
Yeah, a lot of the words I don't know, but I know the melody.
Okay, so the words and the melody are tied in. The melody is the pitch you're singing. Mm-hmm. The note you would play on the piano. Mm-hmm. Oh, say, something like that.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of songs have melodies but don't have words. Lyrics are like just a superficial kind of thing.
Sure.
So there are tunes that you might whistle Dixie and you might not even know the words.
Right.
You probably do, but it's still.
Yeah.
And so understanding that the melody is what you're whistling. That's what you would, and that's the pitch that you would sing if you're singing the words.
Right.
Okay. And that's one of the main components of a song. A song has to have 3 components for me to call it a song.
Right.
And there are more that it can have. But one of them, it has to have a melody, something that you can whistle.
Right.
Okay. Now sometimes that can be very complicated, and you might not actually be able to whistle it because it either moves too fast or jumps too far around, things like that. But like a pop song is not going to have that. It's going to have a melody where one note is close to another most of the time. You're going to have somewhere over the rain. You're going to have big jumps, but it's not going to go doodle-dee-doo-doo-doo-doo. It's not going to be John Coltrane playing giant steps.
Right,
okay,
right.
That's a melody that is not really hummable or singable, but there are melodies in there. But they're frequently improvised and anyhow. Okay, so that's one of the key elements. The next is you have to have harmony. And harmony in this case doesn't mean like a second melody being sung like a barbershop quartet. It means chords.
Okay.
It has to be what you would strum. And so the chord progression to the song is the second key element. Now, go ahead.
No, I'm just thinking. So I'm just thinking. So if you're playing up the chord, then somewhere you're going to have to get the melody in there also. Then.
Well, if you're trying to play an instrumental version of it.
Play it both.
But see, like when we're working on Mr. Bojangles, we're not playing the melody at all.
Right.
We're just playing the chords.
Right.
And what the chord progression has in it is a moving bass line. It's got this descending bass line. That's kind of like a separate feature of the chord progression in that case. There are other songs that, let me get to the third element really quickly, but then I'll give you and that is, then it just has to have rhythm. It's got to have a beat.
Yeah, right.
Sure. So 3 main elements: a melody, what you would sing, chords. Now, if I just start strumming these chords, you don't even know what song I'm playing. Because there's not enough there to identify the song, or it could maybe be, there are lots of songs that could go just like that. When I went from G to B minor, and because of the rhythm I gave it there, it could have been, comes a time When you're drifting, a Neil Young song. It could have been, I read the news today, oh boy. Okay, so G to B minor, there are two completely different songs with completely different rhythms, completely different melodies,
Sure.
but what they had in common was the first and second chords were G and B minor.
Okay.
But would anybody have ever tied those two songs together on any basis? You know, I mean, one was a country campfire
Put a
song.
B minor on there for me. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, bar at the second
I
fret,
got you.
shaped like A minor.
Yeah.
So that's what I was doing, I was going from G to B minor.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, so every song you have to be able to identify or focus maybe on those three parts and maybe learn them all independently. So when we're trying to improve your guitar playing and get to where you can play better so that you can sing a song or whistle a song or play the harmonica to the song or whatever, we're trying to establish being able to play a steady rhythm and keep a chord progression going.
Sure.
Not necessarily this. That's way later.
So
is the instrumental
So
version
you're picking
of the song
and
is now combining the harmony, the chords, and the melody,
right. Okay.
and just made it 25 times more complicated in terms of technical skill required to do that, as opposed to the technical skill required to do this and this and sing at the same time.
So then when you put the chord on, so if we start with the C then. So you're finger picking individual notes of that chord, then I assume, huh?
When I was picking out the melody,
A minute ago, yeah.
yeah, and well,
so instead of the whole chord,
Right.
you're finger picking.
yeah, and then I also had to keep the rhythm going. I had to see this song's in 3/4 time, so when I just strummed it, it was 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. But now when I'm going to try to put the melody together, first thing is I have to be able to play the melody in time. Like it can't be like this. Okay, that rhythm was bad enough where you're not even sure it was the right song. You know, it just sounded like noise. So I have to be able to play in time. You know,
Sure.
competently and effectively.
Right.
Okay. And so now I have to keep the rhythm going. I got to make sure that you can feel that as the listener, and then I can play the melody in time. Anyway,
I mean, that sounds great that way too.
right, and that's
Yeah.
what Chet Atkins does that. I mean, that's what instrumental guitar players. This is, and I got into this as a teenager because I really was fascinated by fingerpicking stuff, and I also was not fascinated by singing, and so I wanted to be able to play something and didn't want to be embarrassed by singing it.
I got you.
Now I'm happy being embarrassed singing, so I don't care.
You're fun.
Well, it's possible.
So is this so what we're doing, is this an Atkins kind of thing?
No, so this is just a strumming thing. Now, as soon as we try to do that, as soon as you try to play the melody, then we're heading into instrumental playing.
Okay, but so this is with the bass and so that's not an Atkins.
Well, not really, because this is still, although,
because I'm doing the whole chord.
well, you're strumming the whole
as
chord.
opposed to as an individual.
So what you're just doing there, you're giving me two of our three elements. You're giving me the harmony and the rhythm, because you've got the beat going, and you're giving me the chords and the rhythm. But you're not giving me the melody. You're letting me now sing the melody, or you're going to sing it or something. So again, if you keep those three components as like separate elements,
Okay.
then and what you and I talked about last week is that you really wanted to get more focused on accompaniment first,
Right.
which is absolutely the most important thing to have in the guitar playing first. Then, I mean, because really the first job of the guitar is to accompany somebody else playing the melody, or you playing the melody, or you singing the song, or whatever. It's to sit down at the campfire, strum some chords, and sing. Now, all this fancy instrumental stuff that you hear people do on nice guitars like that, or on like even here with this guitar.
Okay.
Yeah, this is tuned to a chord already. So it's tuned to a G chord. Play a G chord. Go to C. To D.
A B.
D. And back to G. so I can strum this and play a whole chord like a G chord. This I could go to C, I could go to D, I could go back to G. But generally with a guitar like this, you're going to do a little bit of picking, still not necessarily playing the melody as much, but I might do something like.
It's a great sound. I love that. Now, are the strings up pretty high that to be able to use? Yeah, that's part of it. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So see, this nut is designed to keep the string, so you can't touch the frets.
Yeah, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this was just designed to be played sitting on your lap. Also, the big size of the body, so that it I can have on both legs.
What year is that beauty now?
1920.
Woo.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. How cool.
Yeah.
And so you've had it all for how long?
Since 1920.
Really?
I had it built for me.
Okay. Good luck.
No, but actually I got it in about 1975. So I've had it for over 35 years. Yeah, I was still a teenager.
Oh,
And I got it at a store I was teaching at in Los Gatos. I mean, my first teaching job was at a store called the Village Guitar Shop. It was run by a guy named John Whitted back in the mid-70s.
What did you end up pay? What did you pay for?
I
You remember?
think only $100. It might have been 200, but I remember it was half of what he wanted for it.
Oh,
And he was going out of business, and he'd written me I was teaching there, so he would write me checks like every week, and one of his checks bounced, and the next day he closed, and so like I couldn't track him down. And so I went back there. I was just walking around, and it was like a $60 check or something like that. And I was 18-year-old kid. It's like, man, a bounced $60 check was like I'm getting moving back into mom's house or something because I can't afford the rent now, which was probably $80 a month or something, And but he. I happened to be going by the store, and he was in there on a ladder moving stuff around, and so I went in. Of course, I had the check in my wallet, and so he apologized and gave me cash for it and that kind of stuff. So he wasn't going to skip town. I didn't have to call the sheriff, but this, and I see, I'd recently become a fan of John Fahey's and seen Fahey play a lot and had seen him play a guitar exactly like this. And now he's cleaning out the shop, and I'd been in this shop a whole bunch of times because I taught there. But now he's like cleaning junk out of the attic and stuff like that, and this is sitting up in a corner, and I look at it and I say, John, tell me about that guitar. He goes, I don't know too much about it, and it had a price tag on it. It probably said $200.
Now, can you also play chords with that too, and also?
Well, you're not going to fret anything. You're only going to play it with this.
No, that's what I mean with that though.
Well,
can you just regular chords?
Yeah, by just going to a different place, I get a different chord. So see again, if I put the bar all the way across the 5th fret, it's a C chord now.
Oh, okay.
Because all the way across, because open would be a G chord.
I see. Okay.
So it's playing a chord already. It's an open tuning. It's like having your guitar tuned to a G chord, where you would now change chords by just putting a bar someplace. You wouldn't use any. Well.
So in fact, that's another question I have. So when you get these various, when you drop the D's or drop D or whatever right there, so you have to now know that that's no longer. You have to now memorize
the
a whole
fingering,
new.
you have to learn new positions for chords.
And these guys that know you do this,
they can play
15
lots
or
of
20,
tunings.
30, so every one is a different.
Creates a different chord set. Yeah. Now, the thing about standard tuning is there are relatively easy ways to play every possible chord that exists. And in most open tunings, you're probably limited to about 10% of the chords that exist because of that tuning.
Okay.
So you get certain
Standard
sounds.
being what I have.
Standard
Is, okay, then an open
okay.
be like you could drop D or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
And drop D is not that different than standard because it's still what I would call a neutral tuning.
It's still only that one D.
It's only one note. But this is tuned to a full G chord.
Right.
So it would be really tough for me to play. It's actually tough to play minor chords with the guitar in a major tuning.
Cat?
This is Pot Sticker.
That's a sticker. Okay.
Our
Cats.
friendly,
What friendly cats. Neighbor cat?
No, it's ours.
That's your, okay. Pretty cat. See, that's a great sound.
Yeah,
I love
it's
that.
just so pure and
It
it is really neat.
Yeah.
So I've gotten into this again lately because recently I wanted a few weeks ago I got kind of on a kick to do more John Fahey lessons at the site, and I thought, and the reason I hadn't had this out, I probably hadn't had it out in 15 years out of its case.
Yeah, right.
And But I knew if I ever got it out, there were two things. The strings were gonna be just trashed, and also I had lost the only steel that I had, which was just like this. And so I thought, I'm going down to see Jack at Guitar Showcase and buy a steel so I can play the darn guitar. And so yeah, it's funny. It's just one of those things you put off just accidentally, and then it's out of sight, out of mind. But because I got on this Fahey kick of doing some Fahey lessons, I dragged this out. And getting back to the purchase of it, I think it said $200 on it, and I just said, he knew I couldn't afford $200. He says, "Give me $100 for it."
Yeah. Okay.
So I took out I must have had $40 other dollars, and I gave him back his $60 and $40 that I had, and I said, "Okay, I will go without dinner this month, and and I'll borrow for the rent or something." But
that was a good purchase, I would say.
Yeah. And there's quite a few.
That first double O I bought was $1,100, I remember. And now, they're $6,100 or whatever.
So as I got into this, I wanted to find out a little bit more about it. I knew it was built by a company in Los Angeles called Weissenborn, or by a builder named Weissenborn. And so all of a sudden I started doing some research and found that there was an article in Acoustic Guitar Magazine from January of 1996. I happened to have, my friend Bernie left me his 30-year collections of acoustic guitar and guitar players all sitting right there on the floor.
Right.
So I came out here and read up on this, and I also had this book about this other builder, Chris Knutson, who was one of the guys he built. Here are some just like it that he built and stuff These are all back in the 20s, and so I actually got a hold of the guy that wrote this article, and no room when we're playing guitar spot sticker, and the guy that wrote this book, Tom Noe, and both of them were fascinated by this guitar because it has a couple of things that are really unusual in it. By about 1923 or 24...
We're now best of buddies, aren't we? Yeah, well, I like you too. Yeah.
By about 23 or 24, Weissenborn had kind of got regular in style names, style 1, style 2, style 3, style 4, and things like that. And this one has features of a lot of those. Like this one doesn't fit... Here, I'll hold this just in case.
Come on. Jump.
He will.
You can do it. Come on, big guy, don't be upset. There we go.
Well, I'm glad you like cats. So
absolutely.
And he's just a big fluff ball too. And he looks like he's gonna weigh like 25 pounds, and he weighs about 12.
Right,
It's nothing but hair.
Yeah, I had one that's like that, black and white one like this.
Yeah. So both of these guys, Ben Elder and Tom Noe, got back to me like immediately when I told them about this guitar because I figured they knew a lot more about it than I did. And I said there's a couple unusual things about it. One is there's a pencil date in there. I said it says April 19th, 1920. And they said we've never seen those. We know, and I said, and it's got to be. I assume it's going to be real. I don't know why it would happen in there. But the funniest thing about it is, and they're in there in both his book and the article. There are all kinds of pictures of this label that says Kona Hawaiian Guitar. The word Hawaiian is misspelled.
I love it.
And they said they'd never seen that in any of these either.
So that's unique, baby.
Yeah. Means it's probably worth twice what I paid for it. I don't know.
Absolutely. What are the woods on it?
So it's the other thing that's unusual is it's koa.
Okay.
And most of these they built with koa tops.
Oh, okay.
This one doesn't have it. It has a spruce top. And the cool thing about the spruce top is it really makes it sing. Spruce vibrates way better than koa. Hardwood top guitars always have a tighter sound. They're not as rich and resonant as a spruce top guitar. And so, although they might look better, and so like all the pictures that you saw there, or that I didn't show them to you very carefully, but still, were all ones that had koa tops.
Sure.
And so they're more stunning looking necessarily, but they don't sound like this. So, and I know many years ago it was full of cracks. I had Keith fix a bunch of cracks on it. 20 years ago probably.
Right. Yeah.
But so that was
very cool.
my Hawaiian guitar.
I love it. Yeah. So you're gonna put that on your website somewhere?
Well, yeah, and actually I played it on the news. I do a Friday news kind of update every week, and last week I brought it out and played it a little bit, and I'll definitely keep it around a little more. I'm planning on doing a lesson or two on it. I'm just trying to decide what song to do. It'll probably be a John Fahey song. It'll probably be this one called Steamboat Going Round the Bend that is actually very simple. something
Very
like that.
cool. I like that.
But,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, would they also do that? That what do they call it? Not slap. You know, with the what's the other guitar?
Well, there's a pedal steel
Yeah,
that came
yeah.
along later, electric.
Yeah. As far as maybe what I'm thinking is the same technique, but it's what the hell they call it? Where they drop the notes down, where they drop the string tension down.
Oh, a slack key.
Slack key.
Yeah, slack key guitar. Yeah, as a matter of fact, this tuning is a really common slack key tuning,
Yeah, okay.
which you wouldn't usually play
Dag
slack
Gag
key.
or whatever they call
And
it.
Dad is a similar one, but
Okay.
yeah, but this is open G, which would actually be D, G, D, G, B. So it's almost like Dad Gad. But
Yeah.
Dad Gad is kind of a combo between a G tuning and a D tuning.
Okay.
It's got two of the notes of a. Anyway, it's a hybrid kind of tuning that is not full one chord. That's the thing. And otherwise, if you call something open G or open D, it only has the notes in it of the three notes that make up that chord.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
I
So, I think that's the end of this story because I want to get back to a little bit of our compositional story
Okay.
now.
Yeah, and I want to too.